I worked out. I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm ready to fucking blast off and get started on another adventure today. We have decent amount of news. But more importantly than the amount of news we have a lot of reacts. Look at this. We got when corrupt cops realize they've been caught. We got the Chad TikTok sexiest WAPAS show. When contests go horribly wrong. Johnny Harris YouTube propaganda. Insane killer makes a detective snap. We have a lot of fun reacts lined up as well, and then also Starfield. So, you know, we'll do a little bit of news, and then we'll get through all of that, and we will inevitably. Yeah. Do you suggest watching One Piece, or do you watch the whole thing? I watched the whole thing, skipping the fillers. Anyway, okay. Trump pleads not guilty. He did everything right. Proud Boys leader sentenced to 17 years. More corrupt cop watch, and Starfield later. And now. Okay. What is this? Don Quixote? There's hi chat. Hi Don Quixote. Did you see the clip of Starfield presentation at Gamescom being interrupted by a guy talking about GTA 6? No, I didn't. I also don't like the people that do that kind of stuff. I don't know why people understandably clown on like anytime activists like break into a stage and like do a demonstration, right? Like people find that to be real cringe when like, you know, like Earth Defenders or whatever will just like go and like stop a presentation from happening to be like, oh, we're killing the Earth, like please stop doing that. Everyone's like, oh, that's cringe, shut the fuck up. But like whenever some dude does it, whenever it's like some fucking random dweeb who does it just for the memes, everyone's like, I love this. I'm such a fan of this. Please do more of this kind of shit. And I feel like, you know, people are just doing it for clout, 100%. And I don't know. I have never been like, maybe I'm old, but I don't really find that to be all that great. I just think it's annoying and cringe. It's cringe to care about stuff. No, I'm saying that like the very same people that consider it to be cringe when you do that for like an actual political cause will quite literally love and soy face when someone does it for no fucking reason whatsoever other than their own personal clout, like personal gain, you know? Do chatters even listen to you? Not really. Chatters don't listen to me, and then they get mad when they misunderstand what I'm saying, and then I yell at them for listening to me correctly and tell them to listen to me correctly, and then they become lifelong haters, and then they become Redditors who fucking talk about how bad I am all the time. But such is life. Life is life. That is life. There's nothing you can do about that. So I digress. Let's get into it. Not guilty. Trump enters plea in the Georgia election case.
Trump formally entered a plea of not guilty. That happened minutes ago. He did it in a new court filing, and it means we won't see him inside an actual courtroom next week on September 6th, when some of Mr. Trump's co-defendants are expected to be arraigned. Let's go to CNN's Zach Cohen. So, Zach, what exactly did the former president file?
Yeah, Dana, Donald Trump pleading not guilty in this case, and it takes some perspective here. This is the fourth time Donald Trump has now entered a not guilty plea in response to criminal charges since he's left office just a couple years ago, and that's a pretty remarkable uncharted territory we're in now. But you know, this is the most recent case, the one in Georgia, where he is charged with allegedly trying to overturn the presidential election results there. It remains to be seen how this might impact a trial. There's a lot of moving pieces still that could determine timing, but
he's not guilty, okay? In my heart of hearts, I know he's not guilty because he did everything right. I'm sorry. Here's some new MAGA memes, wild as hell. I love the wild. Spanish for today, please? What do you mean? No, we're not doing that.
Look, the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, stands by her position that she wants to try Donald Trump and the 18 other co-defendants in this case all together. Trump is really just one of a handful of defendants who have entered a not guilty plea so far, but we do expect there will be more to come. And, you know, it remains to be seen if Fani Willis will be able to try all 19, including Trump, together at some point.
Okay, thank you so much for that reporting. Appreciate it, Zach. Joining our conversation, CNN's Sarah Murray, CNN's Caitlin Polantz, and former Georgia prosecutor Chris Timmons. I'll start with you, Mr. Timmons. You are down in Georgia. What is your take on why the former president chose this route this time?
Sure. So there are two ways that an arraignment can happen. And waiver is the most traditional way that an arraignment is going to go. People are going to waive. No one needs to come to court. You're not going to waste an attorney's time.
I'm not going to lie. He did this for me. Because on the 6th, I was planning on doing something with my family. Okay. I was planning on doing something with my family on the 6th. And Donald Trump kind of cooked that a little bit. Because I thought he was going to do like the arraignment. And then there was going to be a whole ordeal surrounding the arraignment. And then he was like, nah, don't worry, baby. I'll just fucking waive it online. So there is no content on that day. So you don't miss out on my beautiful ass, getting arraigned. So thank you, Donald. I love you. Thank you. You are my goat. You are my king. You are the legend. God hates Australia. What? So he did that on purpose. He's out. He is a secret watcher, I think. He's a secret watcher. He's gifting subs at the top of the hour, allowing people to no longer see those ads. He's just the GOAT. He is my GOAT. Okay? I'll say it. I'll tell it like it is. Okay? I'll tell you how it is. I'll tell it like it is. He's my GOAT. He doesn't want you to see ads. He wants you to no longer see the ads. That's why he gifts. Sakura, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. You also can engage in the not seeing of ads at the top of the hour. So yeah, that's a 10-10 segue. 305.
Welcome back to the comment section.
What is this?
I'm Brett Cooper.
We will not comply. This has 500,000 views. Let me guess. This is the mask mandates. He's not going to comply to the mask mandates that aren't even fucking real. That's what you want me to watch, right? Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way, before I forget. Let's move on. A small taco. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Why am I even here? Thank you for the 5 gifted. A swarm of bees in a trench coat. Thank you for this 10 gifted. Why is Ben Shapiro dressing like a girl? Listen, man, HRT does wonders. Do you understand? HRT does wonders. Look at how much happier she is, too, to be in her own skin. Like, this is what they want to take away from you. You know what I mean? Like, true happiness is when you realize who you actually are. You know what I mean? When you're done with all the lies. Also, estrogen does make you look significantly more youthful, as you can tell. Like, it makes your skin better. It's obvious to me. Look, but let's get back to this.
Alternative to that is what's referred to as formal arraignment. And I thought that former President Trump might try to do formal arraignment. And that's the situation where the judge or the assistant district attorney reads the entire indictment into the record. And at the end of it, then the defendant enters their plea, generally says not guilty. So here, what benefit the former president might have had for a formal arraignment is that he could have come in, had the indictment read, and then made a very dramatic statement of not guilty, perhaps leaning forward like he did in his mugshot. However, this is a 96, 98 page long indictment. So the former president would have had to sit there for approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours before he could have that dramatic moment. And of course, probably all the cameras are turned away. So I think that's why there's a waiver. There's no dramatic moment here unless you're hanging out for about 2 hours listening to somebody read.
That might be true, Sarah Murray. You have covered Donald Trump for many years now. And it's the word drama that Chris used.
Drama.
It's a bit surprising that he is foregoing that drama. Yeah, he has to sit in the courtroom for an hour and a half, but he understands the spectacle that he creates because he's done it now twice in the 4 cases that he's had to deal with. And it's a bit surprising that he's not taking advantage of it since he believes it's helping him in the short term politically.
Yeah, I do think he's realized it's not all that fun to go to court. So he already got the sort of drama of showing up in Georgia to participate in his arrest, to get the mugshot that he, of course, has repurposed in a number of ways to make money off of. He's also been complaining very loudly that all the time he has to spend in a courtroom takes away from his ability to campaign and to hold the kind of events that he really wants to hold, which are these big rallies where all his supporters have gathered to cheer his name. So, given the opportunity ability to perhaps be on the road and hold another rally versus sitting in a courtroom for the better part of the day, with a number of his other co-defendants. I think Donald Trump decided to skip it this time.
That sounds very logical. No.
Yeah, I mean, in this usually, in fact,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just like a waste of time. Like, he can't campaign around it as much because it's not like a physical thing that he needs to do. So I suspect he just didn't want to fucking waste time. And instead of doing it, like doing a whole ordeal where he is, doing like a Zoom call for 15 minutes to plead not guilty, where they read him all the charges. He just did it like that.
federal court, this is a state court case, so it's
Sitting patiently for an hour or two, how would that make him look strong? Dude, he's not sitting. I don't think these things don't happen to Donald Trump in the same way that it would happen to you, okay? No, Donald Trump's orange 215 pound, 6'3" ass is not sitting in a fucking Georgia courtroom for 3 hours. It would have just been done over Zoom probably, and it would have taken 5 minutes maximum. And instead of doing it at the time and place, he just did it ahead of time.
a little different. They bundle it all together, and the scintillating part is actually the bond agreement and the discussion of the release conditions and the arrest. That already happened. That's what we saw last week happen in Georgia at the jail. Sarah was over at the jail. I was at the courthouse. We saw all of this play out day by day. And so the not guilty part, that is essentially a formality at this point, which is why it's being done on paper. But the thing that this does now that does make court exciting is that now that everybody gets their initial pleadings of not guilty locked in, this is when people start making choices. Do they plead guilty? I mean, we keep talking about this case as having 19 defendants. All of these people are not going to go in the same direction, and maybe they do all go to trial, but the likelihood of that's just not how the criminal justice system functions.
Okay, there's something else that we want to talk about, and that is that Rudy Giuliani is now joining the likes of Alex Jones. And in the eyes of the law, they are both liars who defamed innocent people. Judge Beryl Howell said that the former New York City mayor should have known better when he tried to take a shortcut around his legal obligations and around the truth, and it may cost him millions.
Our expectation is that we'll be able to prove tens of millions of dollars in compensatory damages.
Tens of millions?
Yep, you heard me correctly.
You know what's really funny? So one of the things that Donald Trump is charged for is an aggravated is a crime that Donald Trump basically, as a talking point, turned into a more serious offense, which was mishandling classified documents, because that was a whole thing about like Hillary Clinton, right? Like, that was the whole issue around Hillary Clinton. And in order to, instead of locking her up, he just, like, weirdly enough decided to make it like a more serious crime, which he then committed. So that was really funny. There is another obvious ironic situation here with like Rudolph Giuliani getting hit with a RICO, something that he basically weaponized and popularized as a prosecutor. But the other part of this is also defamation. So what am I saying with this? Donald Trump has lost a defamation suit, and now Rudolph Giuliani is losing a defamation or a defamation charge on top of everything else. And Donald Trump has constantly campaigned on making defamation rules more strict, like greatly expanding on defamation. So it seems like pure projection keeps clapping these dudes. Not that he was able to actually change that. He didn't move the needle on it at all. But I do find it quite interesting that, like, he keeps getting cooked by his own advocacy.
Giuliani made the choice to not comply with discovery demands in a lawsuit filed by 2 Georgia election workers. And now he finds himself sanctioned, liable for those lies. Howell, the judge, wrote off Giuliani's legal excuses as having more holes than Swiss cheese. And that's 50 years in litigation should, at least that's what he did when he was practicing as an attorney. It should have taught him that lip service will never satisfy a court of law. Former federal prosecutor Shan Wu joins the table as well. Shan, what do you make of this decision by the judge when it comes to, this is a civil case right now going on in Georgia for these two women who were very much defamed and their lives were turned upside down. They described it in real detail when they were testifying before the January 6th committee.
Yeah, it's not too surprising that the judge saw through his defenses here. He really made sort of an odd legal.
In a financial disclosure, Justice Clarence Thomas acknowledges he took 3 trips last year on a private plane owned by mega donor Harlan Crow. Nothing wrong with that, brother. I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? Fellas, is it illegal to hang out with the homies? Like, what's happening here? I'm sorry. If that's wrong, I don't want to be right. Okay? If taking a trip with the boys on a PJ is wrong, then I'm the wrongest motherfucker out there. Didn't realize it was illegal to go on vacation with the boys.
Move. He submitted this pleading. He called it really a nolo contendere pleading, which usually means.
That's so much funnier than what I said. Being a sugar baby is illegal now. Yeah, literally. Clarence Thomas is a sugar baby. Clarence Thomas is Harlan Crow's sugar baby. That's awesome.
There's no contest. And he basically admitted that what he said was false, but he still wanted to say he had a right to say it under the First Amendment. So that's sort of a textbook case of defamation, that you know you're saying something false, and yet you strongly assert you have the right to say it. It's not like it was by accident or something like that. So I think that's really going to hurt him on the damages issue. Compensatory, tens of millions, a little bit hard to figure out how they get to that. That's usually your out-of-pocket damages. You had an injury, you got treatment, maybe mental distress counseling. But on the punitives, I think he's looking at a world of hurt there because the judge is going to be pissed off at him.
Chris Timmons, yeah, it clearly already is. Chris Timmons, you're down in Georgia where all of this occurred. What's your take on what the judge said to Giuliani yesterday?
Sure. So the funny thing is I'm a former prosecutor, but I'm a current civil litigator here in Georgia. And so what the judge basically said is if you fail to obey the discovery rules, at some point there's going to be a sanction, and that means that your answer is going to be struck. And so what happens at that point, once your answer is struck, we're down to one issue, no longer liability, but rather how damaged were these poll workers. And so he's still entitled to a little bit of a trial at this point, or at least a damages hearing to figure out what those amounts are. But that's a pretty serious sanction. That's the highest sanction you can get in a civil litigation when you're a defendant, is to have your answer struck. So that's a very big deal.
I want to turn to something that Donald Trump said on the Glenn Beck radio show, or maybe it was a podcast. He talked to Glenn Beck, and he was talking about the notion of when or if he becomes president again, how he will deal with his political opponents.
You said in 2016, lock her up. And then when you became president, you said, we don't do that in America. That's just not the right thing to do. That's what they're doing. Do you regret not locking her up?
Yeah, that he's bitch made, dog. He's bitch made. That's what it is. And you're bitch made too. I mean, we all know Glenn Beck is a bitch. Obviously, he is the one who was like running on the anti-Trump apologia tour and then turned back around and was like pro-Trump, but then anti-Trump again, but then pro-Trump again. He doesn't know what's going on, okay? Glenn Beck, also famously, for those of you who don't know, is the only person to be fired from Fox News for not sexually assaulting people. Like, out of their entire lineup, he is the only one who wasn't fired for sexually assaulting people, but instead fired for being too kooky, okay? He was literally too crazy for Fox News. Just understand that real quick. Every single person, for the most part, every single person was like fired for obvious shit, like sexual assault, sexual harassment, discrimination lawsuits, like, things that you see on camera that they actually do off camera as well, being a real problem for a company that wants to be like a normal media company, right? However, Glenn Beck, as far as we know, Tucker Carlson we don't know what the exact reasons are for Tucker Carlson, but the suspicion was always for Tucker Carlson that the suspicion was that it was the ongoing discrimination suit, and his like back and forth with management. Like they thought that he was too much of a, he was the youngest flexer in the game. They thought he had too much power, or that he was you know, aware of how much power he had. Glenn Beck straight up was fired for being too insane. Glenn Beck famously also popularized the Pepe Sylvia style that you see on Always Sunny. The Pepe Sylvia style, connecting the dots, like connecting Barack Obama to the Vatican and then connecting them back to like the mullah or something. You know what I mean? Like he would do that all the time. He also was, I think, on a lot of drugs. He was like crazy. Let me see if I can find you guys like a Glenn Beck whiteboard, so you know. Yeah, look at that TYT baby.
Capitalist near or around Obama and right directly to the Apollo Lions.
Remember when I said like Obama being directed back to like the Illuminati somehow? Like he would do this on Fox News.
Here's Jeff Jones. Put the picture of Jeff Jones up again, please. Jeff Jones is an interesting character. Jeff Jones is the founder of the Weather Underground, right?
That's correct.
I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Like he did this unironically and seriously on a nightly basis. And it got to a point where they literally were like, dog, what the fuck are you doing? This is like network television. Interesting to consider with today's standards, because that right now would bang on Fox News, okay? Like, actual schizophrenia would be incredible content for the Republican right on television right now. So Glenn Beck, technically fired for being too ahead of the game. He was way ahead of the time. He actually was spitting. And the reality is that, like, if he was doing this right now, he would be the most popular guy. David Buckner passes out live on Glenn Beck.
All of this that was bad, that everybody said, oh, no, we can't invest in that, the government invested in, and now this is full of cancer. If all of those had cancer, this now has it. I'm going to pass out. Okay, so this is Treasuries. You all right?
I'm passing out.
Okay, are you okay? You want to hang on?
Passing out.
Okay. Why don't you want to sit down?
Gone.
Okay. All right. Whoa. You okay? Okay. Somebody help him, please. Somebody help.
Bro, he killed him. He killed him. His conspiracies were so crazy, he just fucking ended this guy's life, dude. Just like Sean Hannity killed his co-host. Vaccine? He blew his mind. He died.
We'll be back in just a second. You okay?
Bro gave them a 30-second warning and they still weren't ready for him to pass out. I mean, to be fair, would you expect your co-host to just fucking drop? No. Teaching people about Rogan?
The most popular podcast in the whole world. Oh! Hassan mentioned this. Sorry, Hassan. Hassan mentioned Joe Rogan? Yeah, I think so. What was the context? Me, and then he kind of was like, you don't know who that is? Actually, me.
Yeah, dude, this is like this was my service to the world. What do you mean? Teaching women Joe Rogan is what I do. That's why my latest video on Johnny Harris is so important, okay?
Types himself.
I like that the editor's title is Johnny Harris, no! This was a insane stun lock, which lasted way over an hour, and it was cut down to an hour. Johnny Harris, no! It was a 3-hour stun lock condensed into a 1-hour video on a 30-minute Joe Rogan video from Johnny Harris. So, yeah, I fucking lost my mind a lot during this. I was just genuinely mad at... Dude, I took the fucking hoodie off. Look at this. I shed the tarp. I was getting sweaty with it. I was banning people. It was awesome. So highly recommended. That's some old school Hassan reacts right there. The good stuff. If you're like looking for a certified Hasanabi moment, that video is great. We're gonna watch Ted Cruz sipping a beer with the fellas in a second. Don't worry. Oh, that's on the docket, baby. Fear not. Okay. Where were we? Yeah, Glenn Beck killing David Buckner. All right.
And if you're president again, will you lock people up?
Well, I'll give you an example. The answer is you have no choice because they're doing it to us.
I think this is not surprising, right? Coming from Donald Trump, he felt like even when he was the president, that the attorney general should essentially be his personal attorney, that the Justice Department should basically act on whatever whim he wanted them to. And we've seen Trump's lawyers in a number of these cases go to court and say this is Joe Biden, his political opponent, coming after Donald Trump, even though the prosecutors in this case are special counsels who are appointed separately or are local prosecutors who are not reporting up to Joe Biden. So I think in some ways, while it's alarming rhetoric, it's also kind of the same stuff he was saying last time.
Yeah, and also, as they're all saying, weaponization of the justice system, they're all complaining about this. Remember, there's different parts of the justice system. There's the Justice Department and the prosecutors that charge cases, but then there's the court system. It's separate. It is separate from the presidency, the executive branch, the justice system. And so all of these cases have to go through judges. That's a really important part of the step, essential.
Such an important point. Thank you so much for the basic.
You went little debate lord. I agree, Joe. Mostly conservative guests, and he do interview, which is supposed to listen, not to push back. Yeah. And that's not good when you're offering a platform to like actual white nationalists. That's the point. That's not me being a debate lord. That's me saying, don't do that. That's not a good thing, especially if you aren't one, which Joe Rogan claims he is not. I don't even think he is. Chad, has he talked about the hat lore? I need hat lore. There is no lore for this hat. This is an old Teddy Fresh hat that I had that, I like, that I wear from time to time.
Breaking news now from Washington, from the courthouse, where a judge has just sentenced members of the far-right group, the Proud Boys, after their conviction on seditious conspiracy charges related to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley is outside the courthouse. What have you got?
Hey there, Joe Biggs has been sentenced to 17 years in federal prison. That's the second longest sentence of any January 6th defendant. It's a significant downward departure from the range that the judge had determined in this case, which had been 27 to 33 years. Federal prosecutors had requested 33 years in federal prison for Joe Biggs, saying that he was a leader of this violent attack on the U.S. Capitol, showing images of him with a bullhorn leading the mob towards the Capitol. Joe Biggs ultimately made it onto the floor, was in the gallery of the U.S. Senate during the attack, and subsequently celebrated this, saying that January 6th was a day that would live in infamy. Joe Biggs spoke before his sentencing, asking the judge to show mercy on him, crying, talking about his daughter and his desire to still continue to play a part in his daughter's life, saying that his daughter had been molested and that he wants to be there for her, to be able to pick her up from school. But ultimately, that probably isn't in the cards for Joe Biggs, because that's 17 years in federal prison. So short of what federal prosecutors had wanted here, but still a significant amount of time behind bars, even with credit for time served, as well as good time. That's still going to leave him with more than a decade to go in federal prison. His release date would roughly be calculated somewhere in the mid-2030s. So Joe Biggs is going to be going away for a long time. That is, of course, unless Donald Trump is reelected and ultimately does what he says he is going to do, which is pardon or roll back a lot of the sentences of January 6th defendants today, Andrea.
And what could this foretell for some of the other Proud Boys?
I think that Joe Biggs was probably maybe the second most exposure here. So the Justice Department had wanted 33 years for both Joe Biggs and for Enrique Tarrio. Enrique Tarrio was supposed to be sentenced yesterday, but Judge Kelly was actually sick, so that sentencing has been delayed till Tuesday. This afternoon, we're expecting a sentencing of Zachary Rehl. The government has requested 30 years in prison for Zachary Rehl. He's a Philly Proud Boy. He was head of the Philly chapter and was caught on camera, actually, by online sleuths spraying cops during the Capitol attack. attack. That was something that the FBI missed, but online sleuths just in the middle of his testimony over a long weekend were able to pick that up. So that direct assault could factor in, I think, for the judge ultimately here. But I think, overall, we're probably going to end up seeing sentences significantly below what the government wanted here, at least for Joe Biggs. That could be different for Enrique Tarrio, but Enrique Tarrio wasn't on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol on January.
Yeah, because the fucking CI, dude. Yeah, that's why. They brought him in one day before January 6th. That's the Porsche hat you should get. That's the Porsche you should get. I think that's a Cayman, no? Why would I get that? I like my Porsche. Or not a Cayman, Macan. Sorry. The smaller, it's not a Cayenne, it's like a CUV. It's a crossover. It's the crossover one. It's not good either, by the way. I would rather, if I was gonna get a fucking SUV, I would get the Cayenne Turbo S.
It was actually at a hotel in Baltimore, so we'll have to see until on Tuesday how that ultimately factors into the judge's decision. There are also 2 additional sentences set for Friday, including for Dominic Pizzola. In that case, the government has requested 20 years in prison.
By the way, I'm not wrong. That could be isn't it called the Macan? That's also a CUV, isn't it? Chat immediately said that's not correct, but I think it is. I think I'm right. That's the GTS Spec 2, by the way. Car dudes are reeling. It's for sure a unibody CUV. No, I said Cayman. You're right. That's not I didn't say Macan. Did I say Cayman on accident? I don't know. It's not. The Cayman is not. I thought I said Macan. You say Cayman, but first corrected yourself. Oh, okay. And then people were saying it's not a Macan, but I think it is. Anyway, I'm being gaslit.
Dominic Pizzola is that individual seen with the police shield smashing in that window during the first break-in to the Capitol, but he was not convicted of the seditious conspiracy charge, unlike the 4 other defendants who were, Andrea.
This is who we are.
Now to more.
Judge sanctions Rudolph Giuliani defamation case brought by Georgia election workers. Maybe you should get an EV so you won't get gaslit so much. Good one, chatter.
Legal trouble for Rudy Giuliani. A judge has found him liable for defaming 2 Georgia election workers who sued him for making false charges about their handling of the ballots. Our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, has the latest. Good morning to you, Aaron.
Good morning to you, DeMarco. The things that Rudy Giuliani said about those 2 poll workers were not true, but the consequences to their lives were very real. Now Rudy Giuliani must pay. This morning, Rudy Giuliani is waiting to see what a jury will make him pay to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, 2 Georgia poll workers he falsely accused of stealing ballots.
Ruby Freeman and Shay Freeman Moss and one other gentleman, quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine.
The women later testifying before the January 6th committee.
What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
A ginger mint.
Moss and Freeman said Giuliani unleashed a wave of hatred and threats we never could have imagined.
A lot of threats, wishing death upon me, telling me that, I'll be in jail with my mother, and saying things like, be glad it's 2020 and not 1920.
Giuliani conceded his statements about Moss and Freeman were false, though he has insisted they were protected by the First Amendment. A federal judge finding Giuliani liable.
Dude, I'm sorry, but you can't First Amendment your way out of this. I really hope people finally understand that. Like, January 6th was a good moment for a lot of used car dealership owners, real estate developers, like mom and pop landlords, HVAC business owners, and for them to realize that, like, the law actually doesn't always just work as their own private mercenaries. You can sometimes be hit with repercussions for your actions, right? I hope that maybe conservatives will finally realize that, like, you can't First Amendment your way out of, like, crimes that you're doing with your mouth. And the First Amendment has never also protected defamation. There's no, like, you can't defame someone. You can't intentionally cause emotional distress. You can't actually try to defraud people. You know what I mean? It's just, it's very odd. It's very odd to me that these guys constantly run this. I mean, I guess it's expected. Freedom of speech in and of itself also does not mean that you have no consequences. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences of said speech. So I don't know. I don't know how to make people understand this reality. Like all these little shits, they call in like bomb threats or SWAT people. That's technically a crime that you're engaging in with your fucking mouth. Okay. It's still very much a crime, and you will go to federal prison. You can't do that. Not legal. Okay?
For defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, civil conspiracy, and punitive damage, entering a default judgment, she said, because Giuliani failed to turn over evidence, only what the judge called blobs of indecipherable data. Giuliani called the decision a prime example of a weaponized justice system. The judge has already ordered Giuliani to cover $90,000 in legal costs, another $100,000 plus in fines. And now it will be up to a jury to decide what else he owes the two women in damages for what they called their living nightmare. Rebecca?
Okay, Aaron.
It's just a joke, bro. Users are destroyed. Yeah, I mean, this kind of came down for a lot of the 4chan LARPers last year. Okay, if you recall, there were a lot of like in a Minecraft Andes out there. I mean, we are in a Minecraft in a video game guys ourselves, but like we use that in a humorous way, not when you are like quite literally directing a massive amount of death threats towards one specific sheriff in Florida. When you do that, and when you take it to like the degree that a lot of people online take it to, because they think that they're sheltered from any consequence due to the anonymity that they falsely believe they have, right? They sometimes are met with the scary reality that they do not have that. You look like you sell newspapers on the street corner. Extra, extra. Get your newspaper here. Crime is not a crime. However, mouth crimes, they're on the rise. What will the judges do? Mouth crimes are the worst crimes. Oh, there it is. That's action versus reaction. You know, your actions have consequences. Your free speech online, not so free. The anonymity that you think you have, you might not have. You most likely do not have. Hear what's wrong with the country? So now we can't use our positions of power to call violence against people we don't like. I thought this was a free country. Shaking my head. Yeah, Moist really let himself go. Hate to see it.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hi, everyone.
So before we get to Idalia, let's take a look at something really funny here, okay? I don't know where they find these guys to do doctor work at the Capitol, but I do know one thing. They are paid not to actually do doctor work, but to instead doctor medical documents. Lie on medical documents, okay? I need you to understand something. Any attending physician that says Mitch McConnell is perfectly fine, he's A-okay, is just as nutty. He is just as nutty as the motherfucker who said Trump, like the doctor that gave Trump a clean bill of health and said he's sexy as fuck and he's super hot actually when he takes his shirt off. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they've just like hired exclusively chiropractors for the White House and also Congress alike. But here is what the Capitol attending physician said for Senator Mitch McConnell as he cleared him for work. I have consulted with Leader McConnell and conferred with his neurology team after evaluating yesterday's incident. I have informed Leader McConnell that he is medically clear to continue with the schedule as planned. Occasional lightheadedness is not uncommon in concussion recovery and can also be expected as a result of dehydration. If Joe Brandon had a fucking moment like this, if Joe Brandon had this level of like a brain fart, because he has gaffes, right? He fucks up. His brain short circuits from time to time. He is not medically fine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't consider him to be medically fine, right? But if he had 2 glitches like Glitch McConnell now, like to that degree, I don't think that the Republican Party would talk about anything else. They'd be like 25th Amendment time, 25th Amendment time. This is like, we got to take him out. We got to take him out. He's demented. He's demented. He's out of his mind. They still do it. They still fucking do it. They don't even stop doing it already. Dianne Feinstein's in the same boat as well, because we are run by crazy people. We're run by geriatrics.
Well, now to new questions about Mitch McConnell's health after the Senate Minority Leader appeared to freeze at a press conference yesterday, just weeks after a similar episode. Our senior congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott, is on Capitol Hill with the latest. Good morning, Rachel.
Eva, good morning to you. And this is the second time in just over a month that Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell appeared to freeze in front of the cameras, and it is prompting fresh concerns and questions about his health and future in the Senate.
This morning, the Senate's top Republican Mitch McConnell appearing to freeze in front of cameras, trailing off and staring ahead for more than 30 seconds.
What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
Yes.
This is so funny. Like, yeah, that's when you're, as a congressional aide, as a staffer, that's when you're like, oh fuck, how do I salvage this? Oh, we'll just simply act like he couldn't hear it. Like, that's not the problem here, lady. Okay? That is not the problem here. Oh yeah, he just, guys, he just couldn't hear it. He's just a little dehydrated. Okay? It's going to be fine. Senator, is it okay? Senator, let me repeat the question for you. Bro is seeing the Shinigami? Oh, yeah. Unofficial Hasanabi medical correspondent chiming in. The doc can get away with this because even though Mitch probably had an absent seizure, you can't prove it without an EEG. So technically his doc can be like, okay, all good. Now get back to work because he probably looked normal when the doc actually examined him. Okay, but like, why aren't we doing an EEG? Like, what the fuck? I thought you supported quiet quitting, but when Mitch McConnell does it, it's suddenly bad. Do not smoke no weed from the gas station, bruh. This isn't funny. Senators only do this when they're extremely distressed. Yeah, dude, he's giving an INTJ stare, okay? That's what he's doing. He's just like staring down the journalist. It's you don't understand how that works. That's what it is. I'm an empath. I know.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator.
Wait, I don't get it. Why do you need a minute? It's just, I thought Senator just couldn't simply hear what the question was. Just say the question again, and then the Senator will hear it. Come on. Come on now.
Yep. Head outside, sir. Come with us. Okay.
McConnell was eventually able to answer a few questions before leaving, but the incident was similar to this one in late July, when McConnell appeared to freeze mid-sentence during a press conference on Capitol Hill.
It's been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
McConnell's office telling ABC News after both incidents that the senator felt lightheaded. But his health has been in the spotlight after he fell in March, suffering a concussion and fractured rib. Then in July, a second but minor fall on an airport jet bridge. And sources adding he started using a wheelchair at times to get around. Both Democrats and Republicans wishing McConnell well.
We have disagreements politically, but he's a good friend.
Across the aisle, Democrat Dianne Feinstein facing questions about her health too. At 90 years old, she is the oldest sitting member in the Senate. Briefly hospitalized earlier this month after tripping over a chair and recently appearing confused at a Senate committee hearing.
McConnell's office insists that he is feeling fine, saying he would see a doctor before his next event. He did speak to several top Republicans by phone yesterday, even attended a fundraiser. He is expected to return right back here to Washington next week when the Senate comes back from recess. Eva.
Rachel, that video, though, hard to watch.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching. And
there's more.
Now to more on Mitch McConnell, who appeared to freeze up while speaking to reporters in Kentucky. This is now the second episode for the 81-year-old Senate Minority Leader in recent weeks. And ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Jen joins us now with more on this story. And we don't know exactly what happened and whether or not it was age-related, but it brings the question, what are natural or normal signs of aging?
Yeah, I think that's a really common question. So let's go through what's normal and what's not normal with aging. You know, obviously this varies person to person and there's a spectrum, but things like getting tired more quickly during the day, a loss of muscle mass and strength, which is called age-related sarcopenia, also very common, which you can combat, I might add. And then slight issues with memory, forgetting a name once in a while, all those things are common. But DeMarco, you know, we're seeing more and more examples of incredible longevity and vitality in popular culture these days. We just heard about Bob Barker, of course, Betty White, Queen Elizabeth.
That's so funny. That's like, yeah, dude. Look at all these fucking 800-year-olds, dude. Sick. Look at all these symbols of beacons of vitality just perishing. Taken too soon, man. Too soon.
Elizabeth and Iris Apfel, who just celebrated her 102nd birthday. So it is possible to work and be in good shape as we get older. It's just not as common as we might think.
And what about those who aren't aging? Could this be a serious sign as to what happened?
Well, I think when you go to the what's not normal, the warning signs, if you will, I think, you know, the big things in terms of neurologic function that you want to look out for is being temporarily unresponsive, or altered mental status is the term we use, to place or current events, or doing simple math. What's 1 + 1 if you can't answer questions like that, or being able to speak or respond to commands. I want to be crystal clear. Those, even if they resolve, warrant urgent neurologic evaluation.
And a big question, how can we stay healthy as we age?
Well, that's the key, right? And I think it's about, you know, at any age, but particularly with older adults, being socially engaged, learning new skills. Even music has been shown to be associated with longevity and vitality. Interacting with grandchildren or younger people, all of those things are helpful for the brain and make us feel good as well.
Yeah.
May have already been mentioned, but we have a minimum age for Congress, so why not maximum? Dude, that would be unjustifiable. That would be totally fucked up and unjustifiable. First of all, you can't do that because like old people vote. And secondly, one, old people vote. Two, like it makes total sense, but there is a disparity in mental acuity at that age for sure. Like someone like Bernie Sanders, for example, in spite of the reality that he is also 800 years old, he is still significantly better physically and mentally than most other people his age. You know what I mean? But I definitely do think that there should be a maximum voting and maximum service age for Congress. I do believe that. I think that would be good. They just said Mitch needs to spend more time with young kids to stay young. Yeah, that's a code. That's a signal for Mitch McConnell needs to eat more adrenochrome, which is, of course, as everybody knows, taken out of the spines of babies. That's how that works. Age and term limits aren't the issue. It's media narrative making these people look viable. No, age and term limits are definitely the issue. What do you mean? I legit had a conversation with my parents when they were talking about estate taxes, and I said, you'll probably outlive me due to millennial stress versus boomer. Blew their mind. The tolerant left is the next door down, though? What? I do think that there should be term limits, obviously. I also think that there should be an age limit as well. Or after a certain age, like if you go past like, I don't know, 75, let's say, fuck it, 75. I think that's a very reasonable max cap, right? At that point, isn't that ageism? Yes, bro, I'm fucking ageist, okay? Guess what? I'm ableist too. Like, for example, If your brain doesn't work because you're demented, you can't sit in office. I've said this already. I'm ableist. I'm ableist because I think blind people shouldn't drive, for example. Okay? That's what I feel. That's what I believe. That's what I think is the right thing to do. I'm saying 75 because it's like manageable, right? Like, let's start off with 75, let's say. Okay? I think the reality is 65 would be best. But let's say 75, right? You get to that point, term limits don't help without election reforms. Put in term limits without it, and corps will just groom politicians to serve a couple terms to represent the industry interest. Yes, but term limits at the very least, like, offer a fucking max cap on the amount of cruelty that you can get from one specific, very obviously corrupt politician like Bob Menendez. For every Bernie Sanders and Ed Markey, there is 1,000 Bob Menendezes out there. Okay? And yes, I am very aware that, like, someone like Kyrsten Sinema, for example, would absolutely be able to still operate and do the Kyrsten Sinema shit, even with term limits, because she was pulling the shit that she was pulling off immediately. What I was simply stating was maybe after you hit like, I don't know, 65, you have to do a mental acuity test or something, right? That's what I think. Have you seen Ted Cruz make himself look silly? Yes. And you have to do the mental acuity test like on a monthly basis. Like, you have to offer up for all the public to see, for all your constituents to see, that you are fully capable of passing these cognitive tests, that your brain is working. Because it's crazy to me that there are people out there who can't even fucking stand up and walk without assistance, and not because they're like handicapped, because their legs don't work. I'm talking like their brain, their cognitive function is in a state of disrepair. Hey! Scared the shit out of me. Hey! Asshole. Kaya is such a dick. Good girl, Fiona. You didn't do nothing wrong.
We're wishing him the best. It's frightening to watch that video.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Dr. Judd.
Well, hey there, G.
She just barked at Fiona because Fiona was playing with a toy and she wanted it. So she just fucking barked. McConnell needs some of that child blood those liberal elites are slurping down. Yeah. How many pounds is she now? I don't know. I actually don't know. I haven't weighed her in like a week, but she was like 62 pounds or something. She was around like 62, so she's probably like 65 pounds, 66 pounds now. She has not, like, her growth has not stopped. She's crazy. Is Kaya bigger than Fiona yet? Kaya is almost twice the size of Fiona now. Federal student loan borrowers must begin payments in October after over 3-year pause.
October, the bill is due again for federal student loan borrowers. Interest will be charged starting tomorrow after it was stopped in March of 2020 to help people during the pandemic. Ouija James looks at the White House and how they're trying to help.
Come on, let's walk. In Indianapolis, Erin Heffern and her...
Boo, median Congress ages over time. Since 2000, Congress has been getting much older. They would 100% use a mental acuity test against good people like John Fetterman, sadly, though, and then old demons would have some loophole. Yeah, probably. I mean, every part of the system is fucking broken, dude. I don't know. There is no perfect solution to any of this shit, okay? I'm just as pissed about the geriatric leadership as anyone else, but isn't the issue with age limits that old people need to be represented too? No. No. Not at all. What? Dude, old people and their needs are represented. Do you want to know why they're best represented? Because they have capital and they vote. They vote religiously. They love voting. They love voting more than they like being alive, okay? Fuck no. Yo, fuck their... Bro, absolutely fuck old people's needs, okay? I'm sorry. It's crazy. Like, that's not the real reason why they just, like, let old people thrive in Congress. It's just because our institutions are corrupt. These incredibly corrupt people have basically calcified in their seats. old people's perspective is always going to be broadly represented because they are a very important base of support. That's why even in the Republican Party, it's a big no-no to touch Medicare. Think about that. Even inside of the Republican Party, there isn't enough broad support for eradicating Medicare or even Social Security. Why? Because the most important demographic of voters rely on both of those things. No shot. Ageism is a federal crime. Yeah, I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm ageist, okay? I've already said it. I'm ableist, too. I gotta send this dog groomer a photo of Fiona. I'm doing Murata solid. He left Fiona with me. I'm gonna get her groomed. Older people have representation to design the society as it exists now. Yeah, that's the other part of it. Old people that are 75 have had like almost a fucking century of representation already. Except no, they haven't, because back then they still gave a shit about the old people who were voting. See the problem? Maybe we should start having a little bit of young representation and their needs. And then we wouldn't be having this dumb shit, for example. Because these people aren't even actually young. Like, they're not even young in the way that we understand it. These people are in their 30s, well into their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're still impacted by decisions like this. But if the only representation that matters is representation for 75-year-olds, the only protection that happens is for 75-year-olds and their fucking needs, I'm going to kill you. Stop. Hey. I'm going to put you up for adoption on a kill shelter if you keep barking at Fiona. She doesn't even give a fuck. Kaya. No more barking. Share your toys. She's so fucking spoiled. I love my dog, he says. Brother, have you never had a dog? If you haven't threatened your dog with sending her ass off to a kill shelter, then you don't have a dog. You just never loved your dog. Yeah, he passed this January. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's really sad. I was actually just thinking about Fish because of what happened to Shredder. R.I.P. Huh. She's got to know. She's got to know. I threaten to eat my dog and make a nice series of hats all the time. See, yeah, there's like unique ways that you can do that. Anyway.
Her husband are dreading the return of student loan bills.
We lose sleep over it. It takes so much out of us.
Together, they owe $116,000, which breaks down to payment.
Was Shredder old? What happened? Shredder was old, and I think he had kidney failure, so they had to put him down, unfortunately. It's one of the saddest things, dude. Shredder is Ethan, my podcast co-host on Leftovers, his dog, one of his dogs. I mean, Shredder was only 6. Okay, well, he wasn't that old, yeah. Especially for small dogs, 6 is, like, not that old. No, for larger dogs, 6 is, like, kind of old. But for a smaller dog, 6 is actually not that old. Small dogs like that usually go for like 10 to 12 years. Maybe even longer. Fish passed away due to cancer at 6. My small god lived to 16, so 6 is really young. Yeah. Average life expectancy for a Great Dane is 6 years. Yeah, the larger dogs are, the earlier they pass. How did you know how old Fish was? Didn't you pick him off the street? Wait, what? Brother, what do you mean? Yeah, I picked him from a fucking tire shop when he was like literally this big as a puppy. When his eye color was still like blue. That's how much of a baby he was. You know, you can tell when a dog, you can usually tell a dog's age. Like, Fish 100% was separated from the litter way too early. Anyway.
Payments of $1,500 a month. During the pandemic, they got some relief.
It's really...
Also, for real, the yelling doesn't work with barking. Chatter, this is not a fucking pay attention to me bark. It's a, I'm selfish with my toy bark. That's the problem. You don't understand. Anyway, we're not talking about fucking dogs. Jesus Christ, okay? Can we get back to the student loan situation, which is like way more prescient of an issue for every single one of you? Jesus Christ, people are still like desperate for backseat dog training. When like I was so right about everything that I've done thus far, and you guys have seen it demonstrably. Kaya is an incredibly well-trained dog. She is 6 months old and has only had one like poop accident because I guess my dad forgot to take her out or something while I wasn't here. Since then, for months now, she hasn't had she's like perfectly potty trained. Think about that. Perfectly potty trained, able to roam, able to free roam in the house. The only issues that she has still is like recall and not the best on leash so far, but that's something I gotta work on. Do you like Trump then, or do you just think the government's fucked? I love Trump. Trump is my goat. Didn't Kyle also have issues at the top of the hour too? Fuck. And you wrote just curious after the debate was over. Fuck you. You know what, dude? Yeah, none of you are getting student loan debt relief, okay? So now you're stuck watching a 3-minute ad break at the fucking top of the hour. Fuck you, chatter, okay? Yeah, that's right. You're getting stuck at the top of the hour and you're watching a 3-minute ad break because you have to do your student loan debt repayments now, which means you don't have $5. You do not have $5 to avoid the top of the hour ad break. You might have a Twitch Prime, though, still. Or you might get gifted a sub by Flucky. Thank you for the 10 gifted. Or Lost People. So you for the 5 gifted. Okay. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Really hard to even have a strategy because it's such a large portion of what we make.
For 39-year-old Heffern, the financial strain amounts to more than struggling to pay bills. It has impacted her goal to start a family.
Not having children has probably been the biggest.
It's September. Subs are off 30%. It's not even September yet. This is the last day of August. It's not September yet.
Choice that we've made because of our student loan debt. We can't live paycheck to paycheck and bring children into this world.
The couple is among 45 million Americans who have student loan debt, totaling $1.7 trillion. The Biden administration tried to deliver up to $20,000 of relief to millions of borrowers. But in June, the
September is live. I'm going to change my
with a 6-3 decision. President Biden has vowed to keep fighting, feeling pressure from progressives in his party.
Under my new plan, we're reducing that payment to just 5% of your disposable income.
Under the president's SAVE plan, which will be fully implemented by next summer, interest will not accumulate as long as borrowers make their monthly payments. Those will be based on income and family size.
Sick. Remember when all of this was going to be fucking forgiven? What happened there? Where's that at? I remember. That was pretty sick. That was cool. Can we get back to that?
More than 1 million low-income borrowers will qualify for a $0 monthly payment.
Wish I could try as hard to repay my loans as they tried to wipe them. Yeah, you can't do that, though. You can't do that. In modern American society, there's only 3 types of people that can just fail miserably and fail upwards, okay? Politicians, CEOs, and cops. Oh, sorry, we tried. Didn't work out. Oopsie. I guess you're fucked now.
It's a game changer for a lot of people who are in student loan debt.
Michelle Singletary is a personal finance columnist for The Washington Post.
People look at how much they owe. They get discouraged and they just get paralyzed. If you are not sure you have enough money, call your loan service.
It's so brain breaking, to me at least, to just like sit here and be like, this guy quite literally has the power to eradicate all of this debt. Like, I'm telling you right now, I don't give a fuck what the Supreme Court says. He quite literally has the power to go, that's fine. Department of Education is under my power, and I'm just going to forgive all this debt. I don't care. It's fine. You know, it's done. We're doing that. He could just do that. He could Thanos snap the debt away. Okay, I need you to understand something. He can quite literally do that. As the president, he has the power to do that. He has the power to do that as the president. Please understand, he can do that. Okay? So just remember that. Now, Supreme Court will say, no, you can't do that because they're fucking crooked pieces of shit. The idea that like 9 appointed, lifetime appointee, unelected freaks in robes could just be like, nah, doesn't matter to me, baby. We're still doing it. The fact that this is in consideration is nutty. Okay? It's nutty. I mean, what do you think they're going to do when millions of people don't pay them? I don't know about the rest of the chat, but I'm already poor as fuck and can't pay shit, so God knows I'm not paying them for a long-ass time. Brother, what do you mean, what are they going to do when millions don't pay? That's a secondary debt market now. All of a sudden, now you have refinance opportunities, okay? Like SoFi, right? Then you have all of those loans that are inevitably, all of those pools of funds that are defaulting will have insurance designed around it. There are so many opportunities for financial instruments to be implemented in the situation, for financial institutions to make additional money. Innovation, baby. They don't fuck around. They'll just garnish you. Okay, what if you don't have a job? Fuck you gonna do then? Are you gonna go to debtor's prison? Can't use that with public loans. Oh yeah, well, SoFi for public loans. You can't use debt refinancing for public loans. Okay. If you don't pay your federal student loans, they keep your tax returns also. Like, the answer here is so easy. It's just don't do any of that. Don't do any of that. Just don't do it. You don't have to do it. Just don't do it. Won't they just take back your degree? Wait, what? No. I didn't say just don't pay taxes. I said I'm saying the federal government has the power to say, it's fine, we don't want this money anymore. What's the goddamn Supreme Court going to do if Joe Biden says, I don't give a fuck what you said. I am in charge here. I'm the president. What are they going to do? Now we have a constitutional crisis. Right? Now we have a constitutional crisis. Who is going? I mean, none of this would happen, obviously. Joe Biden got to this position because this would never happen. Because he would never be the guy who would do this. That is precisely the reason why Joe Brandon is in that position of power. So understand that that's how people get elected, right? Hold on 1 second. I have to send another text message. He folded before the cards were dealt. Yeah, I can't pay anything right now. The lowest rate they allow me is $400. I can barely pay my rent, dude. I know. Biggest advice to anyone, learn from my mistake. I moved all my student loans to SoFi in 2018. Don't do that for your federal loans. Also, SoFi is an a-hole now, so review the risks. All chatters need to do is tell their loans that they forgive them. Accepting their apology is the easiest way to move on. My guy can't write a text and toggle them out. I know, I'm fucking L nerd.
Figure out the right payment plan for you and take action. I'm telling you, this debt will haunt you for decades. So call and see what is possible.
Where's this way, bud?
Heffern was holding out hope for loan forgiveness. Now she's grappling with reality.
I don't think that we'll ever get any relief from it. Well, I think we'll take these loans to our graves, unfortunately.
There is a so-called on-ramp program for the next year that allows people to be spared the worst consequences of missing payments on their loans. They won't be considered default or reported to credit bureaus, but if they miss their payments, interest will add up, and Singletary stresses that collectors will get that money in the end, so try to pay. Tony?
I would listen to Michelle Singletary. She knows her stuff. Leisha, thank you very much.
Oh, God, I hate this. I hate this so much. It's like, it's supposed to be free, guys. It's literally supposed to be free. It's supposed to be free. It's free in other countries. Not only is it so free, sometimes in other countries, they pay you to go to college, okay? Wild circumstance. Anyway, moving on. It's going to make me start saying some unhinged shit that's going to get me banned. Let's look at some fun stuff instead of getting extra angry at the situation, okay? Also, one of the incredible people standing in the way of your financial freedom. Oh no, not the consequences of my own actions. Oh no, I know, man. It's so fun. It's so fun to just like weirdly advocate for this insane structure that is unironically inefficient, that literally is the opposite of what a government is supposed to do. A government is supposed to ensure that its labor force is as productive as possible. Therefore, education all the way up to college being free is a fundamental role that the government is supposed to play, which is why every other government in every other fucking country, including developing nations, plays that role. But this is part of the reason why we're getting ass fucked by China on every goddamn educational metric, okay? Like, you're stupid. You're a stupid person. You want other people to be as stupid as you, and that is what's going on right now. That's it. That's it. You're so fucking stupid. This is supposed to be free to begin with, okay? And then we just sit around and we're like, why is everybody smarter than us? I don't get it. Doesn't matter. Got the most guns. I'll fuck the rest of the world up, baby. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It is so stupid. Bad things can be better. I don't believe it. Fantasy. Tell the chatter you can't pay the full payment each month. Pay 50%, 75%. As long as you make a payment of some kind, they can't default you. You'll still be screwed, but at least now it'll be easier. It blows my mind how so many dumbass Americans unironically advocate against their best interest. Is that really it, Hassan? You really think that's the reason education is not free? Wait, no. There are multiple reasons for why education is not free. One, because America is the most capitalist nation on the planet, so we have these psychotic parasites that want to make money in every facet they can. That's why healthcare is not free, even though it's either super affordable or completely free in most other places on the planet. Okay? Some of the other reasons why education is not free, is on top of the fact that people want to make money off of it when it should be free, even though it is not in the best interest for the nation in the long term, is that this is another mechanism of control. If you get $100,000 in student loans because college is incredibly expensive, okay? And you get $100,000 in student loans that you need to pay back immediately as soon as you're out of college, you are way more susceptible to taking a fucking shit job instead of waiting out the market. You do not have any kind of negotiation power. You do not have any kind of bargaining power because you immediately have to start paying your fucking student loans. So instead of studying for 4 years and then waiting for a job opportunity in the adequate field that you studied for, you end up taking whatever fucking job you can. You end up working in very low-paying jobs, as a matter of fact, with maybe a tidy benefits package that comes along with it. You are easily exploitable. Okay? That's it. That's why people can get away with entry-level jobs that are like 30 grand, 40 grand, because you're desperate to pay rent and you're desperate to pay your student loans back before the interest absolutely eviscerates you. Okay? That's why you take a job you fucking hate. There's another component here. Healthcare works in a similar structure. Healthcare is, ironically, also, in the same vein, tied to your employment. Your health insurance is tied to your employment. Okay? Why? Well, then you don't have enough mobility to leave a shit job where you're getting fucked over. Because now you're terrified. Because if you're not employed, you might not get health care. This is all before rising grocery prices. Now, here's the other part of this. Yes, rising grocery prices is a problem. But all of the things that I just mentioned to you is exactly the reason why every single neoliberal on Twitter and every single economist that writes for the New York Times and all these like institutional these legacy publishers keep saying, well, inflation has surely gotten out of control. We really got to the soft landing that Brandon promised. Why won't Americans realize that? Is it because they're fucking dumb hicks? Is it because they're too stupid to recognize what's going on around them? And to them I say, no, dumbass, you're too stupid to recognize that just because inflation has gotten technically under control and got back to, like, let's say, and it's still not there, but let's say it gets back to pre-pandemic levels. The economy wasn't good pre-pandemic either, you fucking idiot. For the average American, the underlying fear of not being able to pay their insanely inflated rent, the fact that they don't know if they can pay off their student loan debts, the fact that they don't know if they get into a healthcare complication that they might be crippled with medical debt. A phenomena that does not exist elsewhere, mind you. Okay? These are the major reasons as to why, regardless of inflation, Americans, even before the pandemic, were genuinely scared about their future. Why are we acting like we forgot about that? Like the pre-pandemic times were so good and Americans loved it. And Americans actually thought everything is perfectly fine back then. It's so odd to me. Yeah, no shit, people are still scared about their economic prospects. No shit, they're scared about the future. That never stopped. For the average person, that never stopped. COVID made it a little bit better, actually, as a matter of fact, when there was a period where the government was basically paying you to fucking stay home or paying you to not die and keep being able to purchase your fucking treats. And that was pretty sick from the perspective of the average voter, okay, the average worker. But beyond that, shit has not recovered. Pre-pandemic, it wasn't great. You know what I mean? Are college taxes more expensive long-term for the individual compared to just paying for college loans? What do you mean? We already pay taxes for public institutions, and they're still expensive. Brother, you already get taxed for college. I don't know if you know this. You do. Some of your taxes go to education. Some of that goes to colleges, public colleges. America is the only nation on the planet where a public institution, a public university, is still a profoundly expensive endeavor, even if you are in state. It's supposed to be free. It's the only fucking country on the planet where a public institution is not free, like at all. If you go to a public institution, if you go to a public university in Turkey, for example, not only is the tuition free, okay, but even boarding is free. Like room and board is free usually. Even private colleges are paid for publicly. Every outrageous donation to Harvard is a millionaire, billionaire tax write-off. There's that too. Yes, Americans pay for state college, and they pay a lot for state college, even with in-state tuition. There's out-of-state tuition that's like basically comparable to private institutions, but the in-state tuition itself, in comparison to like, I don't know, public institutions anywhere, even the UK, because a lot of people are saying, well, in the UK, it's not free either. Brother, you cannot compare UK university prices to the American public university in-state tuition prices. You understand? And then, this is before we get to the other grifts. Room and board. You have to pay for that. Food, you have to pay for that. Books, which is a massively fucked industry. You're getting ass fucked left and right, okay? America as a nation is probably one of the very few places where you can unironically make the anti-natalist argument that, like, why are we born? I did not consent to be born. I did not consent to get ass fucked left and right over and over again since birth, okay? You're born, and then it's like you're fucked, okay? It doesn't matter. You're born, now you have to suffer. No, there's bright futures where if you meet certain educational requirements, you get 75% to 100%. Covered, but you need things like 1290 SAT, 3.5 GPA, 100 community service hours. Private unis are like $3K a semester where I live. How much is it in America for public ones? 18 to 20 grand. In-state tuition too. Out-of-state tuition is still like up to 30 grand. It's crazy. It's so nutty. It's so incredibly unacceptable. But what can you do? You can't do anything. You're locked. The system is designed in the way to yield these outcomes. There's just nothing you can do about it. It's just grifting all the way down. In-state Illinois is like still 30K. We pay like $600 a year, including public transport. Yeah. Born too late to own property, born too soon to be a TikTok star. True. Yeah. Slight disagreement. The one thing that American students do get with expensive tuition is a chance to be shot at school. Now, there's more to it than that. American institutions are also incredibly inflated with their budgets, but they also give you like a tremendous amount of amenities. Most people don't even fucking use those amenities, but it doesn't matter. They're still there. Like you get a sick ass pool. You know what I mean? You get crazy amenities. It's the same with hospitals, right? American hospitals are fucking ridiculous. They're like hotels in comparison to hospitals elsewhere. That's what you know, a lot of that tuition goes to on top of the ridiculous fees for executives. My UC Irvine in-state was like 18K. And you know, we got incredible football teams, right? You get an awesome football team, you get an awesome basketball team, And then those guys are like basically doing modern day slavery there too. So that's a whole nother issue where these dudes who have like literal superstar celebrity status are working for free. Okay. They're breaking their bodies for free with no guarantee. Baba aldın mı sen? Yemeğini. Ha, güzel. Beğendin mi? You know? It's awesome. I went to an all-women's college sport. We're not a priority, and it was still $40K a year. Anyway, let's take a look at some fun shit now. I'm still getting
They're
mad.
clearly worried about people's feelings and not their physical safety because there are other countries.
Only recently did they allow college athletes in the NCAA to be able to get like marketing money from, you know, the brands that approach them. Even that was illegal. Like they can at least make money off their own likeness now. Can you imagine? Like they just, the college was able to do that, but you couldn't do that on your own.
They're clearly worried about people's feelings and not their physical safety because there are other countries, New Zealand, Australia, and France, have warned their citizens about violent crimes and shootings in our cities. That's an actual concern. If Canada was worried about anybody coming to the United States, say, hey, be careful if you go to places that have historically been friendly to the, and I got to get this right because Canada, again, turned it around, 2S LGBTQI+, San Francisco, New York City, you will get injured if you come here.
I love that the counter that she's making is that actually you don't get it, Justin Trudeau. We're even less safe than you think. Like, how is that good for America? Like, you are so fucking dumb. Not only is this not true, okay, because technically travel advisories to red states, okay, ironically, do capture the real violent crime and the likelihood of it happening, because red states, contrary to what Fox News will tell you, contrary to what you've heard from mainstream media over and over again, red states have way higher violent crime rates than blue states do. Surprise. Most people don't know that in America. Why? Because one, well, education is not free. Everyone is dumb as fuck. And two, the media is constantly fucking lying to you. Okay? So remember that. But this, in and of itself, is not even about violent crime. It's more so about the likelihood that you might be hate crimed. Okay? I do think that these kinds of travel advisories are mostly fluff. It's bullshit anyway. I don't really give a fuck. But altında baba %100 var. But even if that was the case, let's say that let's give it an honest read here. Okay, let's give it an honest read. Let's say that this is not like some optics bullshit. Let's say they're legitimately trying to warn, gay Canadians. They don't want them to get fucking hate crimed or whatever. Okay, and let's say she's actually honest and she's real, and like actually blue states have worse violent crime rates and are less safe than the red states, right? Which is not the case. But let's say it is. So your counter is, hey, dumbasses in Canada, you issued a travel advisory, but guess what? America is a significantly more violent nation than you thought it was? Really? That's our big W here? That's the big W? That's your defense? Ha, silly Canadians. What you don't realize is you should issue a travel advisory across the board, because in the United States of America, you are equally under threat, no matter where you go, dumbass.
So they, rather than caring about, again, safety, that should be in the warning. And you mentioned, Canada is, Jordan Peterson has to go through some social media re-education.
Yeah, that's the real fear in Canada, is the fucking social media gulags.
Which is like Soviet Union gulag era nonsense. Well done. Oh, and you can only have 2 beers a week.
I also find it rich, Kennedy, that the morality police emanating from Canada don't turn the mirror around. What was it, 1990?
They're clearly.
You can only have 2 beers a week? This new meta is so bunk, dude. I'm fucking dying, dude. I'm dying. I can't. This is too stupid. You want to know where the 2 beer thing is coming from? Let me tell you. God, these guys are fucking baboons. I swear to God. Oh my God. The entirety of the right-wing media ecosystem is run by a bunch of fucking donkeys, okay? Just straight up. The 2 beer thing is yet another issue that they're trying to raise. It's no different than the gas stove meta. It's no different than the COVID lockdowns are coming back meta. It is completely ridiculous and something that they just basically made up and ran along with it, okay? So here's what it is. The COVID lockdowns meta, which Brett Cooper is ironically talking about here, which I think you guys wanted me to cover, is Lionsgate Studios and one college in Atlanta. 2 places decided to implement mask mandates, or not even mandates, a voluntary mask requirement. Okay? Here's what happened. One random college in Atlanta said, when you guys are coming back, we would like everybody to mask up. And Lionsgate Studios in Santa Monica brought back COVID masks for literally less than a week. They, no, it's voluntary. It's not a requirement. Listen. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Hold on. Okay, sorry. There's just so much movement happening all the time in this fucking house. My mom's got her headphones in, but she can't hear me. Okay, so Lionsgate Studios, I think someone got COVID. Okay, so they wanted to make sure that everyone still kept working. So instead of like taking the week off or some shit like that because COVID was spreading through their ranks, they were like, yeah, mask mandates for the week. That's it. And it's done. They already implemented it, and then they stopped it. This is not like, this is not the federal government. This is not the local government pushing for anything. It's just a private institution that was like, people are getting COVID. People are spreading COVID. We're just going to have a mask mandate for like 5 days. Okay? The mandates are over, and yet they're still fucking complaining about it. Acting like this is the absolute worst thing that could have possibly happened. Somehow Dr. Fauci is responsible. All this shit. They're just fear-mongering. Why are they doing that? You might ask. Why are they doing that? It's because they love COVID battles. Okay? They love COVID. I've said this before. Some of these freaks love COVID. Okay? They loved fighting these like low-stakes battles and greatly overemphasizing how devastating these low-stakes battles were. So that's why they're back to their old ways, okay? That's it. That's it. They're so desperate to duke it out again on like an issue that they feel like is like, you know, tampering with their freedom or something like that. That's what they want to get back to desperately, okay? It's done. It's not a real thing. It's not a real issue, but they're desperately trying to make it a real issue. Now, moving on from that, what are they talking about with the 2 beer thing? That's even funnier, okay? Where is the 2 beer situation? I'm going to explain it. It's just literally a fucking healthcare suggestion, okay? Here it is. The 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans recommend limiting intake to alcoholic drinks or less in a day, to 2 alcoholic drinks or less in a day, or 1 drink or less for women. That's it. It is simply a 2020 to 2025 dietary guideline. That's it. There is no regulation surrounding this. There is no implementation of such a reality. Okay? It's just simply a dietary suggestion. That's it. That's literally it. The guidelines were issued by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Health and Human Services in December 2020. What happened next is the Daily Mail decided to write an article on it saying America is following the lead of Canada. America is following the lead of Canada and, forcibly limiting. Well, actually, the article itself didn't even say that. The Daily Mail article, as far as I understand it, didn't even mention that. But Republicans misunderstood because they don't know how to fucking read and went along with it and decided to suggest that, like, the American government's coming for your beer and they're going to stop you from drinking more than 2 beers a week. Okay? The Health of Human Services responds to the 2-drink limit suggestion. A Department of Health and Human Services spokesperson told Newsweek that updating the guidelines was a multi-year process and development of recommendations for the next edition had not yet begun. Currently, the HHS and the USDA are in step 3 of the process. Development of recommendations for the next edition of the dietary guidelines has not yet begun. Alcoholic beverages and health remain a high priority topic. They're addressing this topic through efforts separate from the 2025 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Okay? That's it. It's just a fucking suggestion. Biden's alcohol czar warns Americans could soon be told to limit themselves to just 2 beers per week under strict new booze guidelines. Americans could be urged by officials to drink no more than 2 beers a week as a part of strict new alcohol guidelines. This is just a suggestion. If you think that they're going to limit your alcoholic content consumption, you are the most delusional person on the fucking planet. Okay? Or you might just be a Republican. It's redundant to say you are the most delusional Republican because Republicans are fucking delusional. If you read the actual news story, and if you have like 3.5 actual brain cells that you can rub together when you're analyzing things that you're reading, okay, you recognize, oh, it's just a healthcare guideline. Has this ever been something that Americans followed? I'm sorry. Have you ever followed a simple healthcare suggestion coming from the federal government? No. So why would you follow this? You fucking idiot. When have you ever followed a healthcare guideline? Average daily caloric consumption for the average American male is 2,000 calories. It's not 2,000 calories per meal. It's 2,000 calories a day. And your fat asses are at fucking Applebee's smoking on jalapeno poppers and eating at least 2,000 fucking calories per meal anyway. So shut the fuck up. Biden's health czar told dailymail.com that the USDA could revise its alcohol advice to match Canada's, where people are advised to have just 2 drinks per week. Dr. George Koob, who admits enjoying a couple of glasses of Chardonnay a week, said he was watching Canada's biggest experiment with interest. If there's health benefits, I think people will start to reevaluate where we're at in the U.S., he told the Daily Mail. Current U.S. recommendations say women can have up to 1 bottle of beer and small glass of wine or a shot of spirit a day, while men can have 2. That's the current recommendation. But those guidelines are up for review in 2025. Per the U.S. guidelines, the drink is defined as containing whatever. We know that already. Asked in what direction the guidelines could change, Dr. George Koob, the director for the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, again, this man, his entire job is to stop your alcoholic conservative dad from drinking himself to death. That's his specific job. Okay? His response was pretty funny. He said, I mean, they're not going to go up, I'm pretty sure. Part of the reason why the 2005 guidelines are absolutely nutty, for the record, which is insane for the record, that the current U.S. recommendations are that women can have up to 1 bottle of beer, a small glass of wine, or a shot of spirit a day, while men can have 2. That's insane. Okay? Why is it that high, you might ask? Well, that's because the American government is completely in the pocket of the spirits and alcohol manufacturers. That's why. Do you understand? But once again, this is just a simple suggestion. Okay? It's just a simple suggestion. That's it. That's fucking it. Doesn't matter. These are guidelines that you can follow, which every American does not follow anyway. But the fact that they're trying to turn this into like this big ass like ordeal, you know, that you know, they're gonna put you in the fucking gulags. Oh my Lord, dude. It's just yet another indication that we are devolving as a society. Okay? Yes, content is saved. Fulton County judge says all court proceedings in the Trump case will be live streamed and televised. Let's go, baby. I do not understand it. I cannot comprehend it. But let's hear how Ted Cruz responded to this in the fucking goofiest way possible.
Now done that for new construction. They're trying to go after and regulate ceiling fans. I got to tell you, it's hot in Texas. We don't want to get rid of our ceiling fans.
Yeah, dude. I want my ceiling fan to cut my head off. I want my ceiling fan to kill my baby when it falls off the ceiling. Regulations? Are you out of your fucking mind? Regulations for ceiling fans? What's next? Regulations for asbestos? I love those popcorn ceilings. They're the best. They look like popcorn. Sometimes when I was a kid, I liked to eat on them. I liked to snack on them like a popcorn itself, you know? It was my favorite thing. Sure, some gay doctors told me it caused irreversible brain damage and a likelihood that I might have gut cancer. Let me tell you, some goddamn libtards took that asbestos-ridden popcorn ceiling away from me, and it was my daughter's God-given right to also eat the popcorn ceiling every time. Now, one of the funnier aspects of this is that Theodore Jebediah Raphael Edward Cruz is famous for doing these kinds of photo ops. And in my opinion, it always is hilarious and he should never stop. Because every time I see him try to do one of these, I am reminded of the reality that he is a Princeton and I believe Harvard graduate who has nothing in common with the average man. Okay? You can put the snakeskin boots on all day. You can wear the biggest belt buckle, but that will not change the reality that you are not a layman. You're not the average everyday guy. Okay? You're just not. This image is 40%. This image is like 40% belly. Yeah. Beacon of health and prosperity back here, by the way. All of our lovely, wonderful hogs. I feel like he went to you know, a website where you can hire a hog and hired all the hogs from hog.com to stand behind him.
And now these idiots have come out and said, drink 2 beers a week. That's their guideline. Well, I got to tell you, if they want us to drink 2 beers a week, frankly, they can kiss my ass.
No, okay.
I love that they're all doing it in unison too. Like he told them, you know, drink the beer when I say kiss my ass. What a tough guy he is, dude. A little pussy ass sip. Let me tell you something, bitch. Okay? Let me tell you something, Theodore. If you were a fucking real one, okay? What was the guy's name? God damn it. If you were a fucking real one, you would do this. That's White Pongzai, baby. America's very own Pongzai. That's Chili Dog. For those of you who don't know, Chris Chili Dog forgot his last name. God damn! It feels so good to be free, baby! Woo-hoo-hoo! Free him! Free my man Chili Dog. He's arrested for drunk driving. Yeah. So wanted to show you that because he is the GOAT. I love him. I actually do love him. He is so sick. Yeah, he got arrested for drunk driving, which is really fucked up in my opinion. Anyway.
Damn, this guy's good.